Hello and welcome to Three Questions with. Got my friend Don McGee with us. Don is the nutrition evangelist. Good morning, Don. How you doing?
Good, Kevin. How are you?
Don, I actually come on the show today to kind of pick on myself a little bit because I'm one of those people that I weigh myself, I don't know, 15 times a day probably, and I tie my weight into my day.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I put on a pound. I'm like, you kidding me? Like, I didn't even eat bad. And then you have those other days where you're like, oh God, I'm gonna have to weigh myself. And the goddess of the scales of weight or whatever gives you a free pass. And you're like, I lost point 0.4. Woohoo! You get excited. That just, I know it's ridiculous, Dawn, but I do it. It is ridiculous, right?
It is, and I'm glad you said that. I mean, if I can't convince you to throw out your scale entirely, what I'd love for you to do is at least just pick the same time each day
Yep.
to weigh yourself with roughly the same nothing on, right? Um and figure out how not to let it ruin your day.
It doesn't necessarily ruin my day, but I'm like, ah. And there's sometimes I feel like a fighter. Like, I'll walk around, do something like I got to lose those point 0.4, like I got to make weight, type of thing. And I'm like, yes, made weight. And, you're like, well, what the heck did that accomplish, Because now you're going to go, drink water, eat, or whatever. And you're going to just put it right back on.
Well, and that's the thing, Kevin. There are so many foods that absorb water that can erroneously raise the scale. And then if you've got other foods or a different kind of day, or you sweat a lot during your workout, then the scale is down. Neither of those is correct. One of them influences your attitude in a good way, and one presumably in a bad way. And then, really, what's the point? So, what I like to tell people is sure, the scale is a data point, but if you were to really think about how you would measure your health, you would be looking at markers of internal health as well, right? What does your blood sugar look like? What does your cholesterol look like? What does your blood pressure look like? All of these different markers of which your weight is one. So it's a small piece. It's not the be all and end all, right?
But for a lot of us, Don, we use the scale to keep us honest. That's how I would describe it. Okay, I've been having a tendency to have that bowl of ice cream each night. Where eventually I say go up a couple of pounds. I'm like, okay, and I got to make some adjustments in my life. So maybe, as I said, one data point, but don't live it day in and day out. See it over maybe a longer period of time.
That's absolutely the key. If you're going to use the weight as a trend, cool, right? If you're going to say, I'm up 10 pounds from last year. If you look at your trend line and it's going up, 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 well, then it's okay to say, I'm on the wrong direction in the trend, right? Um, but if you look at the individual data points, they're going to do this
Sure.
along the way. And the key is to not let it ruin your day, to just use it as a data point.
I had a friend, I haven't seen her in years, but she always comes to mind when we think about this. Her thing is her jeans.
Yep.
It's like if my jeans get snug, I'm screwing up. And I was,
Fair.
but when she said it to me, I just smiled. I'm like, that makes more sense. I mean, again, blood pressure, I'm going to go with blood pressure over jeans. But, if you're
Yep.
looking at the scale, maybe you've been lifting weights, you added some muscle. So now the number might be higher. But I thought that was just an easy test. If I'm like
Yep.
trying to button my jeans, then I need to adjust my lifestyle. So I thought
Absolutely.
that worked.
I think that's super smart because then she's not focusing on each minuscule shift up and down. She's really focusing on a trend line because, your jeans are going to really only get snug if you're really trending up. You may have absolutely, you ate too much pizza and beer over the weekend. Jeans are going to be a little bit snug. So you want to treat your body a little better over the week, and then you're stable again. The challenge comes for people who look in the mirror, suck in their stomach, and go, "Yeah, I've still got a six pack abs. I'm fine."
Mhm.
Right? The people who are still lying to themselves no matter what data you give them.
Yeah, I got a friend that her expression is, but I carry it well.
Right.
Just when they use that on me, I always chuckle. I'm like, well, opinions vary. But I guess all kidding aside, looking at things like blood pressure, cholesterol, that's really where we should be focusing.
In a lot of ways, yes. Right now, the the ranges that are good and not so good will vary, right? Used to be that 120 over 80 was pristine blood pressure. Now that's a little bit high. I'm like, I haven't changed just because you're changing the scale on me. So I
Right.
think we have to be informed consumers, right? We need to know where we are, how we're doing, how we feel, be aware of how we feel in our body. Are there changes? Look at the numbers, take it all into account. And I know this is starting to sound like, Don, this is way too complicated, right?
No, but like I said, don't focus on one piece. I mean,
That's right.
again, like you said, so now they want to change from 120 over 80. I'm usually 120 over 80 99% of the time. So it's like, okay, I'm good. Now like, oh, it has to be something different. Like, sure, buddy. That's what you're gonna get from me, sure, buddy, type of thing. So, Dawn, if people have more questions, what's the best way to reach out to you? How can they put together that plan to avoid these types of things?
Absolutely. So I'd say come find me on my website, dawnmcgee.guru, or on Facebook, Dawn McGee Nutrition Evangelist. Happy to answer any questions, jump on a call, and see what we can do to get you back focused on the right numbers.
All right, Don, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to call on the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thanks, Kevin.